What do we got here?
So Greg, basically we normally use an OME suspension because it's well proven, it has a good footprint around the world for supplying product and good support. And they do a number of different shock absorbers. They do the Nitrous Sport shock absorbers, they do a BP-51 shock.
Isn't that the holy grail of off-road shocks?
It's one of the shocks. I mean, there are other companies like Terrain Tamer who've got an equally good shock absorber. Okay, so I don't like to say one's better than the other. It's going to depend on your pocket,
exactly
how you're going to use it. Are you going to take the time to adjust them and get the use out?
And having adjustable ride height, the pros and
adjustable dampening. So the shock absorber won't change the ride height. It'll change the dampening, the rebound, and then the dampening of the shock against the spring. So it does help, absolutely. When you take a truck like this and you adjust the tire pressures, and you can tune the shock absorbers for the dampening and rebound, you're really looking to attain a very comfortable drive with the maximum amount of control on bad roads.
Exactly.
You don't want the car bouncing everywhere and the steering's flying out your hands and you haven't got good control of the car. So you lower the tire pressures. When you're lowering tire pressures, you've got to manage the heat buildup in any tire. So you're going to limit your speed.
Do you have heat monitors on your tires?
So you'll see we have a tire monitor in this vehicle and little sensors in the tires. So they'll manage heat and tire pressure, which is a great safety feature because heat is one of the critical build-ups. You know, you lower tire pressures, the tire's flexing a lot more. You can quickly build up to a point where you can burst a tire, and that's critical. So you know, you want to at all costs avoid tire damage because for one, you've only got 2 spares, and secondly, you've got to manage the safety of it. How do we do that? By making sure we understand the tire pressures for the different conditions that we're going to use. What's my tar road pressure? How do I check the tires? Looking at the shape of the tire just to see the actual sidewall shape. Okay. If I come back and it's much softer, it's going to tell me that this tire's got a lot less air than in that it should have. Maybe it's gone too low. Okay. Tire monitors, actually these are screwed onto the valves. So you get 2 different types of tire monitors. So I really do embrace having as much safety as possible. Tires, we never compromise on tires.
Exactly.
It's just a critical safety element.
And you got the alloys on here?
Look, it's a choice. These are great, they're lovely looking wheels. Okay. As long as you've got 2 spare wheels and you realize that if you had to fix this with tire levers it could do some damage. Okay. These balance nicely, they run much more true.
Than a 16 you'd say?
No, then actually a steel rim.
Okay, so the alloys actually get a smoother ride on them.
Well, you do because they're made much more perfectly than a steel rim, so you can balance them up better. The disadvantage to an alloy is that if you had to repair it in the bush with tire levers, you can do damage to the rim.
Yeah.
But you've got 2 spares.
But if you've got a plank of wood, you can still bash the alloy a bit.
I would never bash an alloy because an alloy is not a metal that'll straighten easily. And if you try and straighten an alloy and it fractures, you could, once you've done damage to a rim like that, take it off the vehicle and don't use it. This is not like a steel rim where you can bash it straight again. So when you've hit an alloy and it's fractured don't use it. Okay, an alloy will fracture, and if an alloy fractures, then you've got real problems. So tires, I mean, if you look after your rims and tires, they'll look after you. It's simple as that.
And you got the 285 by 70 on a 17. What's the difference between that and a 285 by 75 on a 16?
So 285 with 70 profile.
I mean the same size, but I mean, does it make a difference having the 16 versus the 17 in terms of that extra bit of air?
It does give you a little bit more ground clearance. Okay. You also, when you take a tire which is maybe not as common, you've got to be mindful of getting spare tires.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a long trip for, let's say, drive through Africa, I try and stick to a steel rim and a tire that's as much common as possible. So even a 285, 75, 16, 16 inch being the rim size.
It's a beautiful looking tire, that.
Oh, fantastic.
And you got the gas shocks here. The evolution in shock technology is massive over the last couple of...
Look, I think shock technology has always been there in years gone past. It hasn't always been embraced by the four-wheel drive industry. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Shock absorbers like this are not cheap to buy and fit.
Yeah.
So when you make the investment, you're making it for a reason because you want to have the adjustment, you want to have the ability to use it. So that's key.
Do you have any experience with the Fox shocks? Right? Did they put on the Ranger Raptor?
Fox shocks are a very good brand. They've got a very good name. we don't have the same footprint for Fox shocks as you do for OME and EMU. So
Yeah.
when I'm looking at equipment, it's not because other manufacturers aren't good. It's because of the footprint they have. You know, can we get OME and EMU in Namibia? Yes. Can we get it further north? You know, and that's what you're looking at. Other shocks are capable of doing that, and you can sometimes get better than what we've got here, a lot better. But it's when it goes wrong, can you get the support?
But you can really notice a high-level, expensive shock. It just rides so much better.
Yeah, oh, look, it does. You know, suspension setup's key to any vehicle, and that takes time. When you drive your vehicle enough and you get to know it, you really get a feel for the vehicle, and you know it becomes part of you. And you play with the shock absorber settings.
And you become part of it.
You become part of it.